You probably already know all about microneedling in combination with minoxidil, but did you know that you can do microneedling on its own without the hassle of daily minoxidil? One microneedling session a week with no other intervention can be enough to reverse hair loss. And I'll tell you right now, the results easily outperform minoxidil monotherapy. We'll be breaking down the latest research and tell you just how this is possible in today's video. You will not want to miss it. Just before we get started today, I highly recommend getting a copy of our new free ebook, The Ultimate Hair Regrowth System. If you're interested in the step-by-step system for getting thicker, healthier hair and fixing hair loss at the root, then this is a must-read. Just check out the link below this video, enter your email, and grab your free copy now. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. So, if there's one innovation that's taken the hair loss community by storm over the last decade, that's microneedling. Briefly, microneedling is when you create tiny punctures to the surface of the skin using a specialized device. By far, the most common of these devices is a so-called derma roller. This is basically just a rotating barrel attached to a handle. On the surface of the barrel are hundreds of needles. And as you glide the derma roller over the scalp, the needles make thousands of tiny holes in it. Now, these aren't big enough to cause permanent damage, but they are sufficient to stimulate endogenous growth factors, which leads to skin rejuvenation. These kinds of devices have been used since the late 1990s for many kinds of skin conditions, including acne, scars, vitiligo, and many more. But in 2012, we got the first study of microneedling inducing hair growth in mice. And the year after that, we got the first study on humans. It came to us out of India. The study randomly assigned a group of men to receive either 5% minoxidil only or a combination treatment consisting of the daily minoxidil plus microneedling. For 6 days of the week, the men in the combination treatment applied daily minoxidil, just like the men in the other group. But once a week, instead of their daily minoxidil, they had a microneedling session with a 1.5 millimeter derma roller. Treatment lasted for 4 months, and here were the results. The men in the minoxidil group had an average regrowth of 22 new hairs per centimeter square in the crown area. This compared to 91 new hairs per centimeter square in the combination group. So just one microneedling session a week was enough to boost the results of minoxidil by a factor of 4.1 times. And this difference in hair counts that was evident under the microscope was also visible to the naked eye. The before and after photos of the men who took part in this study were evaluated by a dermatologist who was blinded as to the treatment. In other words, he didn't know if the photos of the men he was looking at had taken the minoxidil only or had received the combination treatment with the derma roller. In other words, he didn't know what treatment the men whose head he was looking at had received. 36% of the men in the minoxidil only group were rated as unchanged, and the rest were rated as showing mild improvement. But the results for the minoxidil group were very different. Every single man in the combination group was rated as showing some degree of improvement. 20% were mild, 44% were rated as moderate, and 36% were given the best possible rating, marked regrowth. You can see in these photos some examples of marked improvement from the men in the combination group. Now, since 2013, we've had several other studies, and they all agree that adding microneedling to a topical stimulant like minoxidil dramatically increases your regrowth, around 3 times as much or even more. But what we didn't know until recently is if microneedling will work on its own. In other words, is it absolutely necessary that you use it in combination with a topical stimulant like minoxidil? Or can you still get regrowth without a topical? Well, we got our answer in 2020, and it came to us from China. They had a total of 71 volunteers ages 20 to 60, stages 3 to 6 on the Norwood scale. So moderate to advanced hair loss. Now the men were randomly split into 3 groups. The first got 5% topical minoxidil only with no microneedling. The second received microneedling sessions only once every 3 weeks with a total of 8 sessions. And the third group was the combination treatment. They got the standard daily minoxidil plus 1 microneedling session every 3 weeks. On the day of the microneedling treatment, this group skipped the minoxidil. Treatment lasted 24 weeks, which is roughly 5.5 months, and participants were also asked to return 6 months later for a follow-up evaluation. The primary outcome was the number of new hairs in a 1 centimeter squared balding area. And here's the results. Group 1, minoxidil alone, had an average of 14 new hairs per centimeter squared. Group 2, microneedling alone, had an average of 21 new hairs. And Group 3, microneedling in combination with minoxidil, had an average of 40 new hairs per centimeter squared. So the combination group had nearly 3 times as many hairs as the minoxidil monotherapy group, 2.8 times to be precise. Remember, the original 2013 study had found a 4.1 times advantage for the combination treatment, but that was with weekly microneedling. Here we had a microneedling session once every 3 weeks. But the key new information we got from this Chinese study were the results of men in Group 2, microneedling alone. Remarkably, these men had 1.5 times the regrowth of the minoxidil-only group. So just one microneedling session every 3 weeks easily outperformed daily minoxidil. This is pretty remarkable if you think about it. What's really interesting about this study is that it also included a 6-month follow-up period where the men had no treatment for their hair loss. After the 6 months were up, they came back for the follow-up assessment. 90% of men who had been treated with minoxidil alone lost all their new hair, but the men in the 2 microneedling groups had better retention. 10% of these men lost all their newly formed hair, about 70% had mild to moderate hair loss, and 20% retained most of their new hair. So not only is microneedling superior to minoxidil as a standalone treatment, but results also tend to last longer. So the evidence at this point suggests that there's 2 components to microneedling's efficacy. Component A, it enhances the absorption of minoxidil, or any other topical for that matter. If you look at other skin conditions where microneedling is useful, it's typically used in combination with other topical medications precisely for this reason. Component B, it promotes hair growth on its own without the need for a topical, and it probably achieves this through various mechanisms. One is stimulating the dermis to release growth factors in response to injury from the needle. It's also very likely that the needles help to break up the fibrosis that builds up in the space between the follicles. Now, if you're interested in trying microneedling for your hair loss but aren't sure how to start, you can check the video now on the screen for a practical how-to guide on starting. It has everything you need to get you going. And in case you don't yet have a derma roller, in the description below this video, I've linked to the page on the HairGuard website where you can get your own free derma roller. It's designed specifically for hair loss and made with medical-grade titanium needles. And it's completely free, a present from us. You just cover the shipping and we'll pay for the derma roller. So happy microneedling. If you're already using microneedling, let us know how it's worked for your hair loss. How frequent are your sessions and what kind of device do you use? We love reading your comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to grab your own free copy of the Ultimate Hair Regrowth System in the description below. Till next time, take care.